Hi, so I have a question about the transboundary water issues. I've read that the Tulkarm wastewater treatment plant was actually kind of contentious because my understanding was the city of Tulkarm was charged for the treatment through the taxes, through a reduction in the taxes that they got back from Israel, without really consenting to it, and that the water also included settlement waste. So I was wondering if those issues have been resolved.
Thanks for the question, but unfortunately I do not know the answer to that. And in fact, I've been in touch with the manager of the wastewater treatment plant and also a Palestinian graduate student I work with, and I'd actually like to do an in-depth case study of that, because I'm just not aware of some of those, let's call them institutional issues. I do know that there was an application to upgrade the treatment facility that hasn't been granted by the Israeli government yet. So unfortunately, I don't know the details, but I'd actually like to get into that a bit more. And I don't know if either of my colleagues.
Yes, I have a question for the first presenter and the second presenter. Well, the three of you, since all of you are familiar with that. I'm just curious about the cost of water per cubic meter in Israel, just to have a point of reference. I'm from Texas, central part of the state, and very close to San Antonio, which is, the city of San Antonio is considered the city with the highest, with the most efficient per capita water use in the country. In Texas, just to give you an idea, the per capita water use per year is 230 meters per person per year. And their average cost of water on my water bill a couple of months ago, it was about $1.20 per cubic meter. Now, the per capita water use in Israel was about less than half of that, which is 100 meters. But I'm just curious about the cost of water, which will put a major incentive for a population at large to conserve water and to make it more efficient.
I think you should differentiate between the cost of water and the price of water.
Price.
Okay. And you mean the price of water. On average, first of all of Israel, all citizens pay the exact same price at the tap, regardless of their distance from the sources or their elevation. It's a national decision that water prices are going to be equal. It's approximately 10 shekels per cubic meter, and the shekel is $1 is 3.5 shekels. So that would be something in the order of 2 plus. That includes the cost of sewage as well. So that's plowed in. Okay? Does that answer it? The cost of water in Israel is 10 shekels per cubic meter. Divide by 3.5.
Between 2 and 3.
It's
2.7.
2.7 about dollars per cubic meter.
Yeah, that's for the first.
And then it goes up. It's for the first allocation.
3.5 cubic meter per capita in a family, and above that,
it goes up.
The price jumped to about 15 shekels.
15 shekels. Yeah. 1.5 times that.
The pricing system goes, and it's a new thing. It's since 2007, because we used to pay much less. But since 2007, the government decided that the water system in Israel will be economically closed system. So prices went up. And so for the first 3.5 cubic meters per capita in a family per month, you pay about the $2.7. And when you go above it, each month, you pay, let's say, 50% more. And that's encourage you to save water.
My question to all three panelists, other than the cost efficiency and pricing, I'm coming from the AWWA, American Water Works Association perspective. Have you looked at the sustainability, like leak detection, preventing urban water waste? I heard from the conference I went Monday last week, 75% of urban water waste can be prevented, like SCADA and other advanced technology. Is that in Israel Jordan's plan also?
The proper term would be unaccounted for water, because part of it is physical leakage and part of it is other reasons. Municipality sometimes uses the water without charging for it. The average loss or unaccounted for water in the country is below 10%. It's very low. Now, it changes between different municipalities, but if you take a look across the whole country. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not into continuous leak detection. Many of our regional systems have SCADA on them. I was involved for many years in doing that at the water company, and now the municipalities are doing that. So great attention is being paid to further reduction of unaccounted for water, but the current rate, and this is formal, this is official, in other words, it's not something that is administrative, is well below 10%.
I would just add that he's talking about Israel and the areas delivered by the national water carrier, the Mekarot. In areas in the Palestinian territories or other areas in Jordan, the loss rates are much higher. And so there's a vast difference. But I've heard officials talk about loss rates, and maybe it's in the transmission system, of as low as like 3%, which, I mean, is unheard of here in the United States. And I would encourage anybody who's interested in technology, if there's a WATEC 2015, I mean, many of the systems that deal with leaks and other things have actually been developed, like lots of high-tech things in Israel, because they've been at it for quite a long time. It's impressive.
I was curious about the salinity levels of the brine from the desalination plant compared to the Dead Sea and with the Gulf of Aqaba.
Well, the brine is about 2 times seawater, okay? Because if about 55% is a brine, so the outcome is that the salinity is about twice, a little bit more than twice seawater. Now the Dead Sea is 10 times seawater. So the brine is still 5 times less saline than the Dead Sea. Now the question is, you have to remember that the Dead Sea used to be a meromictic lake until 1979. It was stratified, and since the 80s, it's not stratified anymore. Once it will be totally reclaimed by about 800 million cubic meters of new water, which has less salinity than the Dead Sea, the layer will come back. The stratification state will come back. But due to the models of the Dead Sea experts, up to 400, the stratification will not come back. So it will mix together. It will precipitate gypsum, probably. We're not sure about the suspension or the sinking down of the gypsum. However, the experts of the Geological Survey of Israel, they already found that the best material to think scavenging the gypsum down to the bottom is gypsum. And they came with a proposal that to add gypsum and cause the sinking, fastening the sinking in order to prevent these widening events that may occur due to the suspension.
Is there any other questions?
I have a quick ecological question about what's happening with the Dead Sea in terms of slow versus fast variables. I'm understanding that it's a staged approach and you're looking at some of the salinity and the impacts there. And I was wondering if there's specific slow variables that are being monitored to see if we might not be catching some of the differences in time. Do you understand the question?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure you understand me, or you're not sure what the slow variables are?
No, I'm not sure I understood. Are you questioning about the ecological system of the Dead Sea?
Exactly.
Well, it's obvious that the Dead Sea, because due to its very, very high salinity, has a very, how shall I say, not developed ecological system, okay? We have some bacteria, but not much more than that. So, and of course there's no fish, no algae, nothing. The point is that there were some experts that thought that when salinity will go down, we might have some algal blooms. But as I said, the experts of the Geological Survey, they came out with a conclusion that up to about 400, even higher, even up to 600 or 700 million cubic meters of brine that will be discharged to the Dead Sea, salinity of the Dead Sea will be still higher than the threshold needed for these blooms. So these blooms will be prevented. That's what I can say.
Thank you.
Just a short addition to that, to the lady who asked. Ecological is not only the biological side of things, and I don't know what you had in mind, but Doron was showing you the sinkholes, for example, and that's a huge environmental concern, obviously. It's also a physical issue of the infrastructure, the hotels, and things like that. But by and large, if you go along the shores of the Dead Sea, you will see these huge holes that are many meters in diameter and many meters in depth, and some large objects have fallen into them over time. So, and that is a very substantial ecological concern around the sea.
I'm just curious to know the drip irrigation technology versus conventional flood irrigation. Any thought on that? I do not know the Israel-Jordan approach about drip irrigation. That's a fairly new technology, is my understanding.
Well, it was invented in Israel many years ago. It's not new at all. It's been invented in Israel, and it has spread around the world. It's not inexpensive. In other words, you have to ascertain that the agricultural production system can sustain the extra costs associated, but there are other costs as well, like labor and machinery and agrotechnology of various kinds. Drip irrigation has increased the productivity of water by many-fold. If you saw on my slide, the drop of per capita use in agriculture, a good part of that has to do with the technologies, plural, irrigation by various means, and drip is one of them. But there's a whole variety of other things that have been done, like rotation of crops, for example, development of new salinity-resistant crops, other agrotechnologies associated with that, and drip is just one of them. And drip has gone all over the world now. Look at Spain, for example, where it's very widespread. India has installed many irrigation systems, many of them coming with Israeli companies.
Yeah, and Ori, if I could just clarify, she mentioned flood irrigation, which I should note, flood irrigation can be done efficiently, but to my knowledge, flood irrigation isn't really practiced in Israel. You've got pressurized spray, micro irrigation, drip irrigation, but they don't use flood irrigation.
One last question, and then we'll wrap it up.
Thank you. From the second presenter, when he presented the Dead Sea Conveyance feasibility, part of the arrangement, I understand, is that Israel is going to sell water in the north, maybe sell to Jordan. I just want to get some clarification from you. Is that water that is already, being used? And if it's going to be reallocated, what are the arrangements for the people who are already using that water? Are they going to be resettled elsewhere, or something like that?
Yeah. Well, according to the peace agreement between Israel and Jordan since 1994, Israel supply water to Jordan. Actually, it's from Lake Kinneret or Sea of Galilee, but we don't call it water from Lake Kinneret. In the peace agreement, the lake doesn't mention. So we say from our sources at the north, but everybody knows that the water comes from the lake. And so we supply about 50 million cubic meters today. Actually, it went up to 60 for the last 2 years. And now the swap agreement speaks about Israel to buy up to 50 million cubic meters at the south from the new desalination plant, which will be built in Aqaba, to the needs in the south, the Israeli Arava, and will sell cube to cube up to 50 million cubic meters, another 50 million from the north, meaning from Lake Kinneret. And when I said that the opportunity or the alternative to use Kinneret water, Sea of Galilee water, to reclaim the Dead Sea is not feasible, I took into consideration already the fact that I know that in the near future, we will have to supply more than 100 million cubic meters per year from the lake to Jordan. So if we have about 300 million cubic meters per year of available water each year in average, so 100 goes to Jordan and about 50 goes to the local area, you are left with about 150. That's for an average year. For example, this year we had zero available water. It's unbelievable. It's the worst winter ever. I mean, it's the water entered the lake. It's the same amount that evaporate. So that's why I said that we will not have enough water to flush to the Dead Sea, and if we will have some, in order to reclaim the lower Jordan River, we will do. But this water will be used among the river, and almost nothing will get to the Dead Sea.
Just a short addition. I understood that you are implying something with respect to the cost. Who pays for it? And the answer is that since Israel is producing at the cost of desalination another 50% over the natural, it does not intend to pay for the water that it's supplying to Jordan. Jordan would have to pay for the additional water. And now Jordan is a much tougher situation from the natural available water point of view. And at the same time, it will have to do that. And it's, as Doron was saying, they are now supplying from the DC aquifer in the south of Jordan over a distance of more than 300 kilometers in a large pipeline that came into operation more recently. And so if there is any exchange of water that is produced by Israel but is being used by Jordan, Jordan will have to pay. Now, in the overall political agreement, the governments may decide on a pricing mechanism that is not necessarily fully economic, but that's a political decision rather than an economic one.
Thank you very much. Let's give a big hand to the panel. Thanks for coming.